live from the Counterpunch Media mobile studios in Grand Blanc, Michigan. It's time for real lives, real families, real fitness. It's time for Derek Noel Fitness.
Welcome to episode 5 of Derek Noel Live. It's going to be a good show today. We're going through the 5 basic exercises that basically any strength exercise or strength program, I should say, should have as a base for someone starting out, because you don't need to be doing super complicated things right off the bat. You should be starting out with the basics. That's where we're going to start with today. So I've talked about previously what you should expect, what you should be looking for going into it. Today we're actually going to build it. I'm going to take a step back. Got people watching. Make sure you keep me updated. Like I said, if you cannot hear me, please make sure you post in the comment. Participation today is going to be very helpful. As I was saying before, we ran into some technical difficulties. It seems like everything is running smoothly now, thanks to good old Dad, Wayne, who's my producer. He's been working. I just want to give him a big shout out for trying to figure this thing out. I'm lucky to have him working on this. We were able to get it figured out within, 10 minutes, 15 minutes of getting everything sorted. So, if you ever see Wayne on Facebook or anything like that, make sure you give him a shout out. He doesn't like being in the spotlight, but without him, none of this would be happening. So, can hear 10 out of 10. Awesome. I'm going to be looking down a lot. I'm being the millennial. I have this on my phone to make sure that we're working. Almost just went live from my phone, I'm not going to lie. So, before we get started, I wanted to give a quick shout out. Number 1, to each and every one of you for making us, Derek Noel Fitness Live, the team, making the team hit top 5 on IPM Nation, which is awesome. Never in a million years did I think I was going to be able to do that from 4 episodes. So, huge shout out to every one of you who is watching, making that happen. I know I posted it on Facebook a few days ago about it, but just from the bottom of my heart, I really, really appreciate the support, and I want to make sure that I can keep helping you out, keep this going as long as we possibly can. So, a couple people I want to give thanks to because couldn't hear me the first time. Number 1, Mr. Brian Brody. Not sure if he's listening. He's dealing with some issues of his own. Please make sure he has a GoFundMe that you can pledge support to. He is going through his 5th brain surgery, so they're trying to raise funds for that. If you could give him some support. If you want to give both of us support at the same time, you can actually listen to All Natural Being on IPM Nation on Counterpunch Media at 7 a.m. during the week. I'm on there on Mondays from 7:10 typically. Technically supposed to be from like 7:10 to 7:13, but we usually end up talking for about 10 minutes because we just really like talking to each other. So make sure you give him a like, subscribe to him, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Please, whoever you can review, just please leave awesome reviews. Second person, Mr. Matt Connerton on IPM Nation for, again, giving me the opportunity to even have somewhere to strive to be in a top 5, which is awesome. Fun fact, I only talked to him once. I'm going to have him on sometime, I feel like. Matt, if you're listening, one of these days, you're going to be on here. It's going to be a good time. Also, again, Wayne, and of course, Mr. Brian Calcay, the owner of Grand Blanc Fit Buddy Bootcamp, where I have the honor of working with a ton of people that I really enjoy spending my time with. I basically get to hang out for a couple hours every day and help people become more fit, become better human beings, and I absolutely love it. It's not a job to me. I love being here. I am in Grand Blanc Fit Buddy Bootcamp. It's a good time. That being said, if you have any questions you would like me to answer, especially as things come up, if I missed something or if you would like a little more clarification on something, please let me know, post a comment, just ask me, hey, could you explain this a little bit more? I have absolutely no problem with that. This is going to be hugely informational, and I'm going pretty in-depth with quite a few of these things. We're going 5 exercises that we would like to go. If you know me, you know that we preach these a lot. I'm going to list off the 5 of them, and then we're going to go through them, which means this camera is going to be moving up and down. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a warning for that. But the very first exercise that we're going to be talking about today is a root plank, Mr. Cameraman. So, few things. I'm going to talk about it first, then I'm going to demonstrate it and go through it so that we can spend some time with it. I'm going to be getting just as much of a workout as you will be when you're doing these. So, again, if you know me, you know that number 1 is going to be that root plank, the root plank position. We're going from our forearms, and we're going to go ahead and bring it down a little bit. You can flip the thing. That works too. So, root plank position. We're going to be going on our forearms. We're going to be doing a couple things. Let's just cut this camera down a little bit, please. We're going to be locking our knees out. What I mean by that is a lot of times we're kind of standing here. What I mean by locking the knees is straightening those legs as much as you possibly can, trying to almost shove your knees backwards, almost like you're hyperextending them. That's going to lock your legs out really well. Then I'm going to be talking about squeezing your butt. That's going to be like pinching your butt cheeks together, sucking that belly button in. Like if you're trying to pull on some pants, they're about 3 sizes too small, so make sure you're doing that. Pull that belly button in, lock the shoulder blades together. So now that I've explained that and we kind of know what we're looking for, let's bring it down to the floor, and we're going to be going to this. So I am in that position. Okay, so I can get rid of those. I don't need those. So first off, bring it down to the forearms. I'm on my forearms. My hands are straight forward. I'm not trying to lock my fingers together. I'm straight forward right here. I'm going to, so my knees are bent right now. I'm going to lock my knees out. I'm going to shove my kneecaps through my legs to the sky. I'm going to squeeze my butt as tight as I possibly can. I'm going to suck my stomach in. I'm already shaking. And then I'm going to let my shoulder blades come together. I'm going to pull myself forward a little bit. This position is where a plank actually should be. I can hold a plank like this all day long. This I cannot get tired from. I'll be lucky to be able to hold this kind of plank for any amount of time. So everything is locked down. Let's bring that up a little bit. Again, on the forearms, straight forward, not laced in, not crossing, straight forward. Knees are locked out to flex the legs, squeezing the butt, sucking the belly button in, shoulder blades are locked together, a little bit of a round, almost like you're doing a crunch. Everything gets really tight. The reason that this was number 1 is because these things are going to be included in all of the rest. So we have all of those to remember, getting that plank down. Now, we're going to talk about a push-up. So, a lot of people are really scared about push-ups. Same deal. The only difference is I'm going to be in that position that I was in originally. So, a lot of people, before we go, we're going to stay here for a second. A lot of people will end up doing their push-ups like this with their elbows flared out really wide. I want you to think about something for a second when I'm explaining this. If I'm pushing someone, if I'm giving someone a shove, if I'm pushing something that's really tall, I'm not pushing this way. I'm going to have my hands here, and I'm going to push really powerfully through here. So from the side view, I'm not up here. I can't get any leverage, and that's all on my shoulders. If I'm here, I can just shove someone away. So if I'm shoving someone, if I'm punching someone, I'm not going like this. I'm here, punching, keeping everything rolling. Let's apply that to a push-up right now. And I know it can be difficult, but I know a couple tricks. So we're going to be down, back in that position again. So I am in that push-up position. First things first, where are my hands at? One of the things that I see a lot is when people are doing push-ups, they have their hands way out here. This literally makes it impossible to do what I was saying by shoving someone, because you're all the way up here already. That's just putting you right there. So I'm going to make sure that my hands are directly underneath my shoulders. It should be a full 90-degree angle. I can point my fingers out a little bit if I have wrist issues. I'm holding that root position, which is why I'm kind of shaking right now. I'm hitting everything. I'm locking it down. I'm just going to lower myself down to the ground. Get that out of here. This is the rest position, because when I come back up, I'm right into that plank again. I'm holding, I'm keeping tight, I'm lowering myself down, resting, and then right back up, locking it down. So, let's bring that camera up a little bit more. When we're going, I was doing them from my toes. I have the strength to be able to do so. First starting out, doing your first push-up, you might not be able to. That's okay, but there's one thing you can do, and there's one thing you can do to make yourself stronger in that position a lot faster, and that is write it down from your toes, and then go to your knees. So, going right back into it, they can still see. So, right back into it, I'll come out right here. I'm lowering myself down, and then if I absolutely need to, I can go onto my knees, still maintain that plank everywhere else, and push myself up. Then lower myself down, push up, or pop up to my toes and lower myself down. You are about 3 times as strong on those negative movements, those eccentric movements is what it's called. On that negative, you're about 3 times stronger than you are on that push up. And your muscles have to do a lot more work. There's a lot more muscle damage, which is how you actually build muscle. You break it down to build it back up. There's a lot more muscle damage on that way down on the way up than on the way up. So a lot of your strength is going to come from that ride down, which is why I'm always talking about go ride it down from your toes nice and slow and controlled, and then pop to your knees, push right back up. That way you're still getting the best of both worlds. You're getting a ton of strength development in a really short amount of time. I want to get push-ups out of the way because I'm also down on the ground. The rest of these we're actually going to be standing up for. So let's bring it up. Remember, if you have any questions about any of these movements, please ask. I have my phone right there. I can see if someone's asking something. I'm going to answer them probably all in a block in a little bit, but please ask these questions. Let's talk about squats. Squats are by far my favorite movement. Anyone who knows me, there's a lot of knowing me today, by the way. Anyone who knows me knows that squats are basically life for me. I absolutely love squats. They're considered one of the 2 kings of movements, so I love myself some back squats with some nice weight. But that being said, if you can't do a basic squat, you have really no business putting a ton of weight on your back and doing a squat that way. It's dangerous, plus if you have what I like to call a Michael Jackson squat, then it's not very good. So, by the way, as an aside, because it's me and I digress, I'm loving having the American flag behind me. I feel so America today. It's awesome. So let's talk about the squat real quick. First off, root position. So I think I'm going to have to just back up a little bit. We might have to move the camera back a little bit. Or just point down towards my lower body. My head doesn't need to be here the whole time. So, squats. We're going to talk about that root position starting out with. So, again, knees locked out, squeezing that butt, sucking that belly button in. I like even putting my arms up and acting like I'm strangling someone. I know a few people who would like to do that who are watching right now. From here, I'm going to turn sideways. Every single squat you do should start with popping your butt back. So I'm going to pop that butt back, and then I'm going to sit down. So pause for a second. I'm going to push that floor down with my feet, try and squeeze my heels together through the floor, squeeze that butt really tight, return to that position. Then drop right back in, drive through, squeeze, stand really tall, really strong, and that's how a squat should be done. From there, you can grab weights, you can hold it here, which will help with that position, keeping everything tight, lowering yourself down, right up, and that's how you build strength. Then once you have that awesome base built, that's when you should start moving into a barbell movement or more heavy dumbbell movements or anything like that. Remember, form first, weight comes second. If you get your form down, your strength will build really quickly. If you have really bad form on something, you will plateau very quickly, which means you will not gain very much strength very quickly. Now that I've gone through 3, I'm actually going to check to see if anyone has any comments. Karen saying my favorite exercise. Yeah, for sure. Dina, we did do it. I'm pretty happy about it. Heidi says squats are my favorite. Like I said, mine too. I love me some squats. keratin going. Yeah, we're having some fun here. So, we have 3 down. I've been live for about 15 minutes so far. We're getting pretty good. I'm breaking a sweat a little bit, just holding that root position, getting everything locked down. The next one we're going to talk about is one that I know a lot of people have a lot of problems with, and it is a single leg exercise, or the more technical term is a unilateral exercise. So uni meaning one, lateral meaning sided. So single leg exercise. My favorite is going to be a split squat. I'm going to show lunges. You can do things like pistol squats once you get more advanced, but a lot of coordination comes into these as well, which is a nice added bonus because coordination is one of the things that you can get better at. So when people say, I'm just not coordinated, good. That means that you can get better at it. And I say that a lot as well, but I really do mean it. There are things that you can get a lot better at. I have not always been super coordinated. I've not always been able to jump very tall. When you have 80 pounds on your body, it's kind of hard to jump tall or jump very high. But with some training and some practice, you can get it. Practice is very, very important. So keep that in mind. Single leg exercises though. One of the biggest things that you can do to keep your balance is to keep your feet square with your hips. Keep them in line with the hips. So what that means is when I'm stepping back, I'm keeping my foot in line. So they're here. One thing that people tend to do is when they step back, they put their entire body in line, and then all of a sudden they have a hard time balancing because they don't have very many points of contact. Then when they're going down, their knee is in a super weird position. So keeping everything tight, again, I'm going to step back. I'm going to lower myself down, and bottom half of me is getting cut off a little bit right now, I think. But I'm going to drive through that heel, drive through, lock that butt down, squeeze nice and tight. Then I can switch sides, or I can stay on one side. Use your arms to balance if you need to when you're starting out. I know some people who are terrible at balance. Even with this little trick, they'll be down in the bottom and they'll be wobbling, whatever you got to do. You can put your hands out, you can put them on your hips. Over your head is really nice because then your back gets a little involved. Whatever you need to do to be able to stay balanced and not fall over. And if you do fall over, don't get frustrated. As long as you're not hurt, use it as an opportunity to go, okay, I need to feel a little bit better on my foot. Last exercise is pull. And I'm actually going to walk off camera real quick, because I'm going to use a dumbbell single arm row as an example for this. So let's see here. I'll just grab this one because why not? Moving back a little bit. Okay. So, back movements. Why am I putting a back exercise in here? Strong backs will help balance your strength. A lot of people, when I'm sure everyone has seen the person, I like to call them the gym bros, will sit there and they'll bench press for 2 or 3 days a week because they love working out chest, they love repping that bench press. The issue with that is, other times they neglect a bunch of other things. So they end up getting what I like to call the gym bro shoulders. Not the technical term, but they're very internally rotated, or their shoulders come in. It's because their back muscles aren't strong enough to pull themselves back with good posture. There are a couple specific muscles that are involved, but if you work your back, chances are you're not going to have any of those problems. So it's really good to help correct posture. I'm going to use the one-arm row because the pull-up bars are all the way over there, and a lot of people can't do pull-ups right off the bat, and you need to start small. I don't expect people to be able to do full pull-ups right off the bat. What you need to remember is those shoulders need to be back, and they need to be down when we're starting with these movements. If I'm going out here, I'm using all arms, and I don't know about you, but I don't want to work arms 5 days a week. I know one person who does, and he's one of my good friends, so I get to poke fun at him. But when we're going with these one-arm rows, I'm going to have one hand planted. I'm going to make sure my back is nice and straight, because number one way to get a back issue is to round your back. So I'm going to pull myself nice and straight. I'm looking forward, and then I'm pulling my shoulder instead of here, I'm pulling it back, and I'm going down. I can already feel my back working just right here. Then from here, I'm just going to pull my elbow back, pull that weight right to my hip, lower myself right back down. This is really good to help build that lat strength. So that's that muscle right underneath your armpit that runs down your side. These muscles are basically the powerhouses of your upper body. You want to be able to pull anything with any amount of strength. You get those lats nice and strong, and you'll be able to do that. You can almost think of like that lawnmower motion or the dance, your choice, pulling nice and tight. So when we're hitting that movement, we're going to be squeezing that back. The back is definitely going to be one of the other exercises that I will preach. One-arm rows are an awesome starter exercise. Start light. Make sure that you can do the weight, and then you can up that weight. From there, you can switch over into a TRX row, or you can use some parallel bars to do that. You can start going with assisted pull-ups. Don't rely too much on a band, though, because it helps you in the wrong parts to get stronger at a pull-up, but it can still help if you already mostly have one to help get yourself up. I'm going to bring myself closer to the camera right now. Just going to Ric Flair strut this in a little bit. Let's go back to the comments real quick. Lost it real quick. Chris is asking, proper knee positioning on lunges or split squats at the bottom of the movement. That's actually a really good point. I completely forgot to talk about where your knees and your legs should be. I'm going to go back to the squat real quick. So, I forgot there's the box there. Get that out of the way. Dumbbell out of the way. So, we're going to talk about the squat specifically because it carries over into the single leg. When we're in the bottom of our squat, can we actually get a close-up on my feet? I know it's a random request, but go ahead and zoom in a little bit on my feet. All right, so we're working lower body right now. That's a great angle. I love that angle. So, a lot of people, or I've heard some coaches before say that your toes need to point straight forward. Do not listen to them. Do not. Your ankles naturally rotate your feet out at about 5 to 10 degrees. It should be in a natural position. From there, when we're sitting down into the squat, notice my knees are out. When I stand up, I think about squeezing nice and tight standing up. Everyone's positioning on their feet is going to be different, depending on how long your femurs are, so that's how long your leg bones are, how your hips are built. Everyone's is different. So if anyone tells you that your feet need to be in a certain direction, so for example, if I go in really close, I feel super uncomfortable here. I cannot go past that parallel point. But if I get my feet a little bit wider, I point my toes out at about 5 degrees, I can sit all the way down into the squat, which is awesome, an awesome range, then I'm driving through. Those knees should never cave in. That's called knee valgus, and a lot of issues with knees from people spraining their ACLs or getting torn meniscus is from repetitive motion where they're like this. Or even when they are, let's go ahead and bring this camera up a little bit. We can zoom back out. Or even if you're an athlete and you're not used to building strength in those legs and those tendons and ligaments, if I'm running and I have to make a strong cut, that knee is going to cave in and drive. And that's how a lot of football players blow out their knees when they're playing, is because they're so explosive that their tendons and ligaments can't handle it. So that knee out is going to help out a lot when we're going. So trying to keep the knees in does have its utility as a pure bodybuilding movement, but functionally and body mechanic-wise, we're going to want to make sure that when we're coming down, we're driving our knees out, if anything. They should never go in to protect those knees. Awesome question, Chris. If anyone else has any questions, feel free to ask. What are we looking at timing-wise? I don't have the time up on my 5 minutes? Awesome. I just want to take a second to remind you that these 5 movements, the root plank, the push-up, the squat, single leg exercise, like I said, I can actually show you a split squat real quick. Like I said, it's a slightly more advanced movement. I like doing them with my foot on a box. So stepping out, foot on a box, then I have to balance. And then when I come down, I can drive through that heel and drive right back up. I have really good balance. Some people fall over as soon as they bring their foot up off the ground. Actually, while I'm at it, when we're talking about the lower body, I have one more thing I'd like to add. There has been a myth perpetuated throughout the fitness industry and the health industry for years. It is a myth that is anatomically almost impossible not to do, and I can prove it by saying walk up the stairs and show me where your knee is. And that myth, that lovely little myth, is saying that your knees should never go over your toes. They anatomically will. You can step upstairs. I step, as soon as I drive through, my knee is over my toes, guys. It's functionally and anatomically impossible for it not to happen, which means it's not a matter of if it does. It's a matter of when. So when do I want my knees to go over my toes? I want that to happen when I'm at the bottom of my squat. If I do not hinge my hips back, I go down, my knees are here. This is effectively the end of my squat because of my ankles. I'm right there. If simply by pushing my butt back, that's pulling my knees back. So then when I squat, I'm going, and right here, my knees are over my toes. My knees are in a perfectly safe position, but my knees are over my toes. Then when I drive back up, guess what? They're not anymore. This right here is called a knee extension, and this range right here is where the most tension is actually on your knees. So if someone injures their knee in a squat, for example, it's in this first 30 degrees or so. It's almost never in the very bottom. So keep that in mind when we're going. Dina is asking, are there any stretches that can help your back and the upper rib cage area to help relieve muscle aches? There are a couple. One of my favorite is actually hanging off of something, because it naturally helps decompress your spine and helps stretch everything out. The other one I like to do is actually simply giving myself a hug and rolling myself forward. And that's going to help pull my shoulder blades apart, help stretch everything out in that back. I can move side to side. If I tilt one way, you'll feel that in one side. Tilt it the other way, you'll feel it the other side. Or you can grab a resistance band. Just make sure you wrap it around something sturdy so it doesn't come back and snap you. And you can have that pull around this way as well, and that'll give you a nice stretch through basically everything in that upper back. Hopefully that answers your question, Dina. That being said, we are coming up. Hopefully you got something out of this. I know that these are 5 basic movements. A lot of people say that they already know these things. I'm going to get a little closer to the camera right now. Haha. So, hopefully you got something out of this. Again, we have a root plank, we have a push-up, we have a squat, we have a single leg exercise, and we have a pulse or a back exercise, making sure that back's nice and straight. These exercises, if you do a variation of all 5 of these, 3 or 4 days a week, you're getting a full body workout 3 or 4 days a week. Your arms are accessories, so that your arms are involved in basically every upper body movement that you do, and your legs are obviously involved in leg day. So being able to hit everything, and if you're sucking that belly button in, hitting that root position, you're getting a butt workout and you're getting an ab workout every single day. So make sure that you're doing those, because that means that everything is full body, and that's what's going to get you progress, that's what's going to get you results. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hopefully this episode 5 was everything you could ever want and more. I'm just messing around at this point. Please make sure to share this video if you enjoyed it. People can watch it later. You can find me on IPM Nation at ipmnation.com/counterpunch. You can find me on Instagram at @TheDerekNoel. Feel free to give me a follow there. I usually post some more lifting videos, so if you want to see what I'm up to in the gym, that's an awesome place to check it out. If you have any questions that would require a little bit longer answer, feel free to submit them. I'll make a video of it. I have 2 that I'm working on right now. And on Tuesdays, you can listen to me wherever you find podcasts. I'm basically everywhere in the podcast form. Have a nice night, everybody. I know I will. I know I did.